Sorry, guys. Maybe, yeah.
Stimulation is always associated with the feeding.
Yes, I always do it at the same time. So because we are doing them every 2 hours right now too, right? So, and then for my milk, I never warm my milk up in the microwave. I either make a fresh batch by, so with the KMR, it's 2 parts water to 1 part KMR, or generally it's the Royal Canin formula. That is something we will supply for you guys if you guys do take on a litter. So I always, generally a lot of times I have to mix it up freshly for these guys because they eat so much on me. But if not, if I have leftovers, I do keep it in the fridge in the between. I mix it up with I always boil the kettle for warm water to mix it up. With the KMR, I have to add the water very slowly because it does clump very quickly, right? So, and if I was to reheat a bottle, I wouldn't put it in the microwave to reheat it. I actually boil the kettle again. I get a cup out and I place my bottle into the cup. Before I ever feed any of my kittens, I always take it on my wrist right here to feel. Yeah. So I have to find what one I want to use right now. This one is a bit clumpy, actually. We'll have to see. Really thick.
She's going to find your arm in a minute.
I was just going to say, just put it on your arm.
Training it a lot.
Yeah, I know. I might have to redo this. It seems, we'll see how she likes it.
But my daughter had read on the internet that it had changed something about the formula. And
Okay.
the way to mix it was with warm water, not boiling water.
Okay.
And I tried that and it mixed a lot better.
So we'll have to see if she'll eat this. They're like super good eaters for me. So my Miss Meanie here, she always likes it if she can suck, and she always likes to have her hands up on my hands. Like I said, every kitten is different, but this is the way she prefers to eat. She seems to like to be standing when she's doing it too. And like, did you find that too with your last litter? Every kitten likes their own individual way, right?
Crazy about it.
So we'll have to see. This milk is really thick, so I might have to make it a bit thinner. We'll see how much she gets.
Does it plug up? Mine, the nipple always plugged up. Yeah,
it sometimes does.
Oh, she is.
She's biting.
She's eating.
That one is Jessa right there, the black and white, the white and black one.
Oh,
she, I call her Moo Cow though.
She's so cute.
Yeah. And then the other one, the other black and white one in there is Hannah, but I call her Hannah Banana. So they like eating for long periods of time. They're very good eaters. She generally, when she eats, will drink like half the bottle in like super quickly. And then I always, I put her back and then I go through and do every one again. This milk was really thick when I just saw it there, so I might have to, we'll just see how, if she's not, and that's why you do have to be careful, so I know I've made the milk too thick, so she might not drink as much as she normally does because of that, right? So I might have to go back and remix it after she feeds right here. I think she's super adorable when she eats.
Is there a specified amount that you feed them, or is it just what
there is. I'll give you, we have a chart, but for these guys, because they're, so I'm not worried about these guys, how, I know they're good eaters, so I'm not worried about how little, they're so I'm not measuring it as much for them because I know that they're very good eaters. If you're having a litter that's a bit more difficult, you would want to keep a better eye on how much they're eating each feeding, right? So, but because I know these guys are all gaining weight and they actually eat more than they probably should be eating, I feed them, and I don't know if this is the right or wrong thing. I will let them eat until they're done, because if not, I find that they're just up, they won't settle.
Will she eat that whole bottle?
No, she eats, sometimes she eats 3/4 or a half of it.
And then can you give that bottle to another
kitten? Yeah, in the same litter. You would never use the same bottle for a different litter and come back, right? So,
do they start crying like this when they're hungry?
Yes, and they do this every 2 hours.
They wake you up
24 hours a day.
At night, they've gotten a bit better, and they generally will sleep for longer periods throughout the night. Especially as they get older, I've lengthened my time a bit now, so I generally right now I go to bed between 12 and 2, and then I wake up at 6 for them right now. But I had them since they were 3 days old, right? So, and generally, so that is how I prefer with my sleep schedule. Some people like Jane with her kittens, I think sometimes she still wakes up every 2 hours, or sometimes Linnea does that too. So it definitely, I wouldn't be able to sleep if I was I'm a very light sleeper. It takes me a really long time to fall asleep, right? So me giving myself I'd rather stay up later. So I've been watching a lot of movies to make myself stay up late lately. So I stay up later, and then I get a bit of sleep, and then I wake up again to feed them, right? So
Is there some way to make it easier in the night for the mixing and stuff? Like have
you
them
could
ready to
pre-mix
go
it,
kind
yeah.
of thing?
Yeah.
And then just put them in like a cup of
Warm
hot
them up.
water to warm it up.
Yeah, you could have them in your fridge. I do store it in the fridge whenever I'm not using it, I store my bottles in the fridge in between. And if I left them out, my one cat at home, he will chew all the nipples.
I was going to ask if it's, I have 3 cats at home.
Yeah.
Are they, I'm worried about my one cat that's the youngest, just not getting the attention he needs if I'm looking after babies.
Yeah, and honestly, my cats aren't getting much attention, right? And I have cat. Well, I hope so.
It's short enough.
It's short
It is,
time.
right?
Time
So,
that it's used.
yeah.
I think it's okay. I think they
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah, they would understand.
Shelly should know.
I got, yeah.
Wouldn't they be in a different room too? So you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never want to keep your kittens, and especially in the same room,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you never want to introduce your cats to these kittens.
That helps. If you get
And these guys are pretty little, right? So they're very fragile. Even I have a 5-pound Chihuahua who I wouldn't trust with kittens, right?
Yeah.
So you do have to be very careful, and that it is all. And my Chihuahua's the worst. I have bigger dogs who are great with them, but my Chihuahua, I think he sees them as little rats, right? So you do have to be super careful, and even with your guys' cats at home, right? And you do want to make sure you leave them in a room that is safe, that your animals can't get in if you're not there, right? So for me to be on the safe side, because I do have a multi-animal house, I have lots of animals in my house, and my one cat can open doors. I put a baby gate up in front of my door so that he can't get the doorknob down to open it, right? So just because if he let himself in, that means all my animals are in, and they are really tiny, right? So you guys just have to make sure that they are in an area in your house where they are safe. And that is warm too.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
How old is this litter?
They are 10 days today.
Do you leave them in the cage when you're not feeding them?
Yeah, they stay at this age. They stay in the cage. They generally sleep most of the
Wait,
little
other
life
than
right now.
feeding them. Yeah.
Yes, other than feeding, they're
It's
sleeping.
really going through that bottle.
It's hard. He might not actually be going. It is really thick right now, so I'm actually not sure how much he's actually going through. And he generally will drink a lot very quickly. So I think right now he's not getting as much. So that's why he's drinking for a longer period of time. Yes, that would be great.
So could I use my grandson's
I like the
playpen for
Yeah,
For
you
kittens?
would. You could if you can properly disinfect it before your grandson uses it too, right?
Right,
So
yeah.
just good to be on the safe side.
So the other ones were going.
Yeah.
Yeah, my turn.
Oh, he's liking it, whatever's going on.
So what happened to the mother? Was she
They came. There were 6 of them, and they were found on a construction site in the drywall.
Oh yeah, the
So if you guys saw our post when we were out at KMR, these guys came in when we were out at Baby Milk. So that's when that we posted them. So and they were freezing cold when they came in. So luckily.
Who found them?
It was one of the guys on the job site brought them in. And they were so cold, so we had I think there was 4 or 5 of us all sitting there, and most of the girls had them down their shirts.
Yeah.
I saw that.
I can't do that because I am not as fortunate as
You can stop another 20 years, Kayla. That's what happened to me.
So I had to have a heating pad to keep mine warm, but all the other girls.
So the mother, they didn't know what happened to the mother.
No, and they had waited for the mom to come around, and she didn't. So, and I'm glad he brought them
Yeah,
in. They
because
didn't.
they're that cold.
They
obviously.
were freezing. It took us over an hour to warm them up, right? And there's definitely when they're this young, you do not feed them until they're warmed up, right? So that is when we get kittens in at this age, and if they're cold, the most important thing is not getting food into them; it's warming them up.
Because they can't regulate their body temperature.
Yeah.
They can't. No,
They don't eat if they're cold.
they won't. No. Thank you. Yes, I'm very fussy.
Shelly knows the rules.
There's just a lot of kittens around the shelter, so we have to be so
that's
careful, right? So yeah, he's just she's going to town right here, and they're probably getting so mad.
Yeah, they're pretty angry.
And they're kind of going like,
Tyrone,
I'm
have a
here
nap.
too.
The old mating going on.
And when's it my turn?
Yeah. And you can see on Jessa in there, the black and the white and black one, her eyes have actually started to open. The other and hers have been open for a couple days now, and the other guys haven't started to open. And yesterday I had to bath them all because they got really dirty, and then her eyes opened even a bit more.
Do you ever hold them against your body when you're feeding?
This is my preference to
That's
how
your
I feed them. I probably couldn't hold them. Sometimes I'll put them on my lap and hold them. I don't think I would hold them against my, that wouldn't work for me. Also too with kittens, so the way I'm holding them, you would never hold them like you would a baby and
Upside
tip.
down.
Yeah, you would never tip them back in. You always never. So as you can see, I'm not pushing the milk into them at all. They're sucking it. You never want to force the milk into them, right? So that could cause them to aspirate, and if they aspirate, then that means they get fluid into their lungs. And so she actually drank most of the bottle right there. So it's a very good feed.
Good girl. So they're
Did
all
she just pull
girls?
off? She
Pulled off herself there, yeah. So that's generally how I do it. I feed them until she's done. And actually, I'm going to just pop her back in, and I will still have to make it.
Stimulation.
Did you wash your hands?
Yes, I washed my hands.
So
Do you want me to put her back in? Or to hold her?
you can put her back in, and then if you can pass me whatever one is closest up front
Closest up front or loudest?
or loudest.
The loudest one.
She's always the loudest one.
Aw. What a face.
So what would they deflate when you got them?
I did
really
not
squirty. Do you ever burrito them?
What these guys don't prefer to be burritoed, that is it's preference on. So I know Gwen, so who has that litter back there, she does this when she feeds them. So it's honestly all what. So she'll she'll burrito wrap with their feet in there to feed them. It's all what is most comfortable for you guys, though, right? Because my kittens don't prefer that. If I do that to them, they won't eat, right? So it all depends on your kittens, and it all depends. I know. And it all depends what you're comfortable with too, right? So
Little girl, and then you get fed.
yeah,
That's so much better.
the last one and this one haven't pooped in 2 days. And the other one, Hannah, the last one we haven't fed, she is a great little pooper.
So how long do you wait then till you do something? Like if they
I started making, the reason why I made the formula more thick is I was trying to make it more concentrated to see if that would help.
Yeah.
But now they're just having really yellow peas and they're still not pooping. So I have some laxative at home that I would start adding if it started to become a problem too. I was reading, is it, Shelly, is it from the end, the New York, what is it? What's that thing you sent me to? Where is it from, the New York?
Oh, yeah, you mean the foster?
Yeah.
The bottle
Where's that from?
manual. I think it's from, New York Community Cat Holding.
Okay. When I was reading that yesterday, they said they would bring a cat after a kitten after 2 days of not pooping to a vet. So we generally have and I don't know what, we generally have a lot of kittens that are bottle fed. It seems like right now that are getting a bit more constipated. That litter over there, that's why they're brought in today, because they're having problems with going to the bathroom, right? So that hasn't been our rule of thumb, right? So, but we do definitely try a couple things before we do, and sometimes then we do end up having to bring them to the vet, right? So it is something, that's why you do have to monitor them when you have them in your care, right? So you need to be keeping track of their weight.
So we get to have a chart or a notepad or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Could it be the change in formula?
These guys were on, so that it could. I had these guys on the Royal Canin formula, and then I switched them to the KMR because we were running out, right? So that it could be that. At first, they were pooping really good for me at first, and then they all of a sudden stopped. So I don't know exactly what their issue is yet, but.
See, if you're tired, you'd forget.
Poop last time.
Yeah.
Exactly. I would
You'd have to keep a
write it
chart,
down.
yeah.
I'd forget. Never mind being tired. I'd forget.
Gee, it's pretty quiet when that one's eating.
Yeah, and that's why I call her a moo cow, because she eats a lot super quickly.
Do you weigh them once a
I
after a couple
so
feedings,
when you first get them home, I was weighing them before feeding and after feeding, and that's what we would recommend for you guys when you're first taking a litter home is weigh before every feeding and after every feeding, because that's and measuring how much they're getting, because that's the only way you can tell to make sure that they're that they're actually eating, right? For these guys, I know they're super great eaters. I know they've been gaining weight on a regular basis, so I only weigh them once a day now. And very cute.
So what do you deworm them with?
So we could, I guess, depending if they need it, like we could give them Strange. I wouldn't give these guys Strange tea only because I don't think they really need it, and I think I might be upsetting their stomachs more and everything like that, right? If they were having any problems like diarrhea or anything like that, I know all their poops have been formed normal stools when they've been having it, so that may be something to consider if they were having like abnormal stools or something like that too, right? So we know that she didn't eat very much, but her stomach feels little, so we'll see if she has to.
We usually start at about 2 weeks.
Mhm.
Every 2 weeks.
That's all she's eating.
Until, yeah, I wonder if she's gonna poop. This is it's Mimi Rouge, I believe how you say it, but I call her Moo Cow.
Moo cow.
Moo Cow.
Moo cow. Yeah, that suits her.
I thought she just stopped eating.
She did. Yeah, so I let her stop on her own. This wouldn't be enough for a feeding though, but her stomach feels really distended right now, and so I'm just.
She's got a lot to say.
She always does. She's always super vocal. Yeah, right. And she does the weird thing when she does poo. She holds her little mouth open as wide as she can, and then it's like, yeah. And she looks like she's like
Coming out of both ends.
yeah.
What consistency should their poop be?
It should be formed, and not it shouldn't be like a greenish color or anything like that. It should be like a yellowish, browny, like tingy color.
It's hard sometimes when you have to do this because you feel like you're maybe hurting them, but
Being too rough or something, when the cries get all of a sudden.
yeah,
Oh
you can tell that.
And we've been told we aren't always rough enough. We had a litter we sent in last year to the vet, and we believed they were constipated. And then when the vet got a hold of them, all she did was rub a little harder and a bit longer, and she was able to get them to go. So then we looked quite like we knew what we were talking about.
Hey, like the mother has a rough tongue, right?
She does, and sometimes.
when the mother does.
Oh, I know. I don't think so. At least
I know that cat's tongues
but
are
it could
like
be like she's in
sandpaper.
discomfort because she hasn't gone. So do you see what I mean? That's what she starts to do when. So I think
she's gonna go.
I think she must be.
Oh,
But that's what she starts to do.
That's okay.
And sometimes I use a bit like a rougher cloth, which I might see if Alicia has one over there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking because of the mother.
Yeah. Because she didn't eat enough, and her stomach feels like really like firm and stiff. Thank you, Alicia. And I always I know not. So this is what I always wet the cloth because I want it to feel, and I always use warm water because I want it to feel kind of soft and nice. On
Like a
them.
mother's tongue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, baby. You just have to poop and then you'll be fine.
Yeah.
You'll feel much better.
And she gets worse than this sometimes.
So you see where the patience element comes in.
Yeah.
No kidding.
And I've been trying to do this since like yesterday at 2 o'clock. I was
I
like,
know. That's the other thing. Yeah. Hard not to.
tearing up.
Oh, baby, come on, you can do it.
So how long do you keep this up?
Well, I'm gonna have to keep it up until she. I would take a break though. I don't want to make her bum little raw or anything like that, right? So. But I'm just, I know she must have to go because she is generally eating a lot, right? So she must have to go. She just. And I thought yesterday I bathed her because I was like, maybe that will help loosen everything up. And I know that works for one of your kittens when we were having trouble. So I haven't actually added any laxative to their formula yet, which might be the next thing I might have to do, right? So, but with her, I notice it does take a bit longer sometimes to get her to go, right? So, even a couple days ago when I got her, I was like going back and forth between all of them and rubbing for like, I felt like it was forever, but I finally did manage to get her to go, so. It was. I'm just going to take a little break and see if she'll eat. Do you want to eat, or we'll see if Hannah wants to eat, and then you come back. So this is my preference too. I always when I'm going to get the bottle into the mouth, I always scruff them a little bit, just to get their head in the right place before I give the bottle. That's totally not so everyone has their own little things on how they get them to feed. So that's how I do it. Not everyone does that. I've seen we had this kitten Paul a few years ago where he would literally it was Amy, one of our old staff members, that would take care of him. He would literally hang. She would be feeding him here, and the rest of his body would hang when she's feeding him. But that's how he liked it, right? Yeah. So.
So he's not eating right now?
She's not, but her stomach feels super.
Does have room in there?
No,
hard?
it does, yeah. Maybe we'll massage it a bit.
Yeah. It will feel so much. I know.
Well, you know yourself.
Oh, exactly.
Just feels so bad.
Yeah.
Do you have to burp them at all?
You do, yeah. So
it's easy to burp.
so they just
She's going through the mill, this poor little one. She's a doll.
She is. So I don't know if this helps, but I'm just giving her a little tummy massage. Maybe that will help loosen everything up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she actually she was one of the first ones when I first got her. She purred, and she was only a couple days old. So she
purred that early.
Well, yeah, yours purred right away too. Oh, I know, it must be sore,
They
right?
purr for their mom. So often the ones without moms will purr for humans early on, but it takes longer for ones with moms.
Yeah, right?
What about this snuggle mama thing?
They love it. It's in there right now. I can't hear the heart.
That's a really great.
They love it.
They do.
Where do you find something like that?
On
Amazon.
Okay.
Get it through the States, so it's half price.
Oh, really?
And it's called a snuggle mama?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mama kitty is cute.
Do you think we should try it if anyone wants to try it?
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, her tummy is so big, doesn't it?
Maybe Alicia, you could start feeding yours over there with that.
Yeah, what I was realizing is that I thought they were 3 weeks old. They're actually 4 weeks old tomorrow. So because they're really
Okay.
I'm gonna try a little bit of can.
Okay.
And then
So we could split up, and someone has someone handled any cats or kittens at all today, or is there someone who hasn't handled any cats or kittens except for their own really healthy ones?
Well, I've washed my hands and I've touched my
So a couple of you guys could split up, and you could go over there and start helping Alicia out over there.
Kayla?
Yeah.
Do you want me to take her and see if I can?
Oh, you can come sit down here, and you can come help. And maybe you can try to see if you can get her to poop, and then I'll start working on Hannah over there.
Is there three?
We'll do those guys last because we'll only have the 2 litters going at once.
Is this the warm water here?
It's just.
Snuggle mama. Like,
Warm water. Look at that tummy. We have another blanket there. I'll give you this blanket, and I'll take their blanket out of it.
They look so much smaller in real life.
They can. They do, even then on the cam. You really notice that, like in real life.
I keep telling people that
Can I hold this one?
Thank you so much.
This is the third one then?
This is Hannah.
Can I hold the first one?
Did you design your hair?
And who's the biggest of this litter?
Jessa weighed the most the other day.
But they're all the same age.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Here, are they all girls?
They are all girls. There's only one boy in this whole litter.
The paladins are so cute. Oh my god. Like they're all just so adorable.
It's okay.
I have days, so I'm like, I'm ready.
Shelly, Gwen's been like burrito wrapping those guys. She burrito wrapped. I said I talked to her this morning. Was she trying to burrito wrap in your?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're just whining.
It's really hard to get a good picture of a black cat.
She's a little wiggle one.
Yeah, and we might need some more. So if anyone is looking for something to donate, Kleenex is a huge one. Yeah, we like the soft ones.
Do you
The ones with the
still
lotion.
need blankets and towels and stuff?
We little blankets like this for kittens, and like we have lots of like dog-sized blankets, but like little ones like this because we have so many kittens, we can be running out of all the time right now.
I just go to Costco to get the great big one.
Yeah. Did she give you a poo or?
She didn't. No,
So none
I'm
of
not
it-
as concerned about her though because she's been pooping for me regularly.
So where do you get these little solids?
Actually, our Daniela right there has been making them for us.
Is Danielle?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Danielle,
Sorry,
they
they were wondering where we were getting.
Oh, yeah.
She was wondering where we got all these lovely blankets from.
Yeah. It's funny, my mom, when I
I haven't tried that. I bought the felt like, but I haven't made it yet.
Those are Mystic Teeth.
I know, I went over and I'm waiting patiently. Very much waiting
There's only 3 of them here.
There's 3 because the other ones are empty, right? Yay! Super excited.
which ones are?
That's Mystic Teeth litter. So Alicia is their foster mom right there, but they're just spending a couple days with us because they've been having some troubles.
Oh. You can go on like our, if you haven't read about it, it's on the foster kittens page. It was quite an ordeal. Yeah. Well, the 6th one was C-section, but I think that was the 4th one that passed because I went through all my video and the 5th one, the leg came in, so the 4th one's part of its issue, it was paralyzed. And so in the video of the 5th one, and I even have it online, like, welcome baby number 5, the legs are moving. So like just by doing some math, it was number 4 that had a little bit of trouble, but number 6 was okay. Kayla rubbed it for how long, Kayla, to get it meowing?
When he first came out, he was at first we weren't 100%. He got a C-section, and when he came out, he was very still and not very moving. So I sat there just rubbing him for like a super long time to be able to get him to wake up.
It was like, for me anyways, it was the first one that had like substantial white in comparison from just looking at them from being so young. So it was a little white chest.
You would, if you want. She hasn't pooped either, so you could try rubbing her too if you'd like.
They were all, she was pottying them, she was doing everything. It's just, there was no milk.
Having cookies?
So it was 18
You can use
hours
these
or
for
so
that.
for the first bottle from the first one being born.
So you just, like, you don't push it, you just rub?
Just rub. Yeah, yeah.
Like a massage, I guess.
Yeah, kind of like a massage.
I got maybe 2 dots worth, but it wasn't enough for anything.
She actually hasn't been stimulating all that well now,
No.
so she
A little
so
bit of trouble.
Gwen's been doing most of it. So
Yeah.
It was wiggling.
Stomach.
Oh my goodness. You are so adorable.
Poor baby.
Yeah.
Hard to remember they can't hear you too.
yeah, I know.
I know, they can.
But I talk to them anyhow.
Make
I
I
talk
would
to
talk
them
to the
too all
videos,
the
yeah.
time.
baby noises.
One day I came into the room the other day. She's like, "Who are you talking to?" I'm like, "No one."
I'm never alone at home. I talk to my animals all the time. So,
Yeah.
but with babies, I always do.
Oh, yeah.
And I know they can't hear me, but
You can't resist.
no.
Especially when they're talking back to you.
Yes. Can
But this
imagine.
one's fine.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Yeah, my daughter has a cat that just doesn't shut up ever.
Oh,
it's terrible. Yeah, you're on the phone with her and you can hear the cat. Is that Bob again?
Oh, we got a pooper.
Oh, good.
Yay. She's our good pooper, though. She always cooks for me.
Well, here we're all excited.
We're gonna clap in a minute.
And once Hannah starts going, she says it never stops.
Oh boy, she really does. She really does it.
Good for you, baby.
And she said it's really smelly.
Well, now he's empty, so we want to refill. He's gonna feel so much better.
Oh, yes. Better. Yes.
Oh, yeah, something's happening.
Oh, is she
Something's
cooking?
gonna go
Well,
up.
there's pressing. Yeah, there's some pressing going on.
Good girl. I know. It's gonna feel so much better.
Do you know how many kittens are actually being bottle fed right now?
There's a lot, I think.
There is. So there's this litter. Jane has her litter, who's probably going to start eating solid foods. There's that litter, the Game of Thrones litter. So there's that litter that Alicia has over there. Then we have another litter in foster care with Nancy. We have our Breaking Bad litter.
They should be starting up.
They should almost be, yeah. Are you good here?
That's a lot all at once.
Yeah.
And what's happened to all the mums?
We have had some have come from our colony, which we weren't able to have their moms. We also have Echo's litter, who was one of the feral moms we had here, who actually, when she gave birth to her litter, she never cared for any of her kittens. So I went down there, and I believe she was in labor, and all the kittens were laying there soaking wet and freezing, and she was there with them. So we had to help her out by taking them away and warming them up, and then getting them to eat too. And one of our old employees has some right now.
Do you see any difference in a cat's personality if it's been bottle fed
I
rather
do.
than?
I find that they are sometimes way more affectionate towards people.
Oh, okay.
Right? Like
Yeah,
your
Sheldon
two,
and
like
Leonard.
Florence adopted
Sheldon and
two
Leonard.
from her first litter, and they were like extraordinary.
And they still are.
Yeah.
Sheldon is the healer. When I bring a sick cat in, he won't leave her alone or leave the cat alone. He stays right with it.
And he was a bottle fed?
Yeah, he's amazing.
Was that one of your first? That was one of your first litters, right?
That was my very first foster assignment. Remember, you weren't going to give me Sheldon because you didn't think he'd live. And he was really bad. And so you were going to give me only 4 out of the 5, and I said, no, I'm going to take 5 or nothing. So Sheldon's 15 pounds.
They were born Monday night. Tuesday morning. Yeah, that's the Miss Vicky with the C-section. Your tummy is way too big. And that's why it's still plugged in. So yeah. They're still being.
So if you guys are walking over there, you probably just want to wash your hands.
Yeah. So there was Gwen. Well, so it was kind of serious for me.
I'm just gonna get some more warm water.
Yeah. And then to have
I love this little cow. I love
yeah,
her.
and
She's
my
just
cat
a doll.
passed away in March, and so it's
Not
like I wanted to
Not
adopt
yet,
it,
but we'll get it.
It wasn't,
Poor thing.
Oh, I know, and her stomach is so distended.
So just kept going with it.
Okay. Your tummy is so distended.
Yeah. So he's like,
I know, you don't look at your tummy. Holy cow.
sometimes yeah, I'm fostering them, but there was some complications out there with Gwen.
So he should take the doctor's out. He'll need to back to
I haven't seen him since the day that she was C-section, so I haven't seen him since, 2 hours old, 12 hours old, and they're almost a week now. Yeah, so there's one girl and 2 boys. The girl is
Can I use some?
or sorry,
Oh, yeah,
Ruffles,
you can
the
use
boy with like the white chest by C-section.
Oh, actually, I'm just gonna stick my bottle in this one and I'll go warm those guys up.
Okay.
Thanks, Shelly. I think I brought more.
Do you want us to get water for you? What do you want?
Oh, yeah. If you guys want it,
What do
warm
you
water
want?
in both of those.
Warm water, both?
Yeah.
Like from the kettle or just the tap?
Just the tap's okay for those guys.
Some of the dancers that your dance studio that day.
Thank you. Although, if you want to put down, I'll have a look at this litter.
I know. So how old is that litter?
They were born on Monday and Tuesday. They're always warm at first. We boil the water to make the milk at first, but then we don't use it until it cools down.
Yeah, just like you would a baby
Yeah.
formula, yeah.